What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and the stimulus reconciliation bill, known as the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, we're hearing is going to be passing this week. However, there is one last hurdle for Democrats to overcome to get this to the finish line for their deadline by the end of this week, and we're hearing that stimulus checks, child tax credits, executive actions, more legislation all hinges upon the passage of this bill this week. Now, there is a lot of news coming out on this. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. I've got video footage and articles. This is your breaking news, stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, we will see you guys. I'm going to keep you up to date, but I've got the latest video footage as to what Senator Joe Manchin had to say, and yesterday he was all over the headlines. Take a look at this, you guys. On the money, Manchin swaps proposals with Sinema, as now all eyes turn to Kyrsten Sinema. She is that last vote in the Senate that they need to get on board. Here's another one. Manchin Sinema exchanging texts on climate and tax deal, and Democrats scramble for Sinema's support on climate, health, and the tax bill. And what we're hearing is right now, Manchin is in negotiations with Kyrsten Sinema trying to get her on board so they can get that final vote to pass it through the Senate. And then after that, as I mentioned, everything is hinging upon this bill. Once this passes, that opens up the door for more legislation, executive orders, executive actions, provisions that we have heard of for quite some time that would likely show up right around the midterm elections. It's all hinging upon this. So we're going to be seeing you guys what unfolds here. This could all fall apart, or it could get passed through and we could see a dominoes effect of things passing in Congress right before these elections. Now, you guys, take a look at this article very quickly before we dive into the video footage. Senator Joe Manchin says that he is exchanging materials with Kyrsten Sinema to help her better understand the broad tax reform and climate bill that he negotiated with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and says that he is open onto her suggestions as Democrats seek 50 votes to put the bill on the floor. Manchin finally got a chance to speak to Sinema after lunch yesterday, when she was scheduled to preside over the chamber. Manchin did not reveal details of the conversations, but said that he's willing to consider changes that Sinema might want to make to the deal. Those included potentially axing the proposal to close the carried interest loophole, a priority for Manchin that Sinema has expressed skepticism about. So that is one of the things that they're saying could get removed from this bill. As we mentioned, it still has to go through the parliamentarian bird bath. It needs to get approval in the Senate and in the House. So this is by no means done, but they want to have something finalized by this week to start the process of the passage of this bill, to have it done before the midterm elections. Now, you guys, Joe Manchin was in interviews all over the place yesterday. I've got some pretty intense ones, and I've got one that's going to be covering the details right now for you of what he had to say with Kyrsten Sinema. So I'm going to dive right in, get you caught up on the latest so you know where things stand. Now, in addition to that, we have 5,000 people now that have vocalized that they want to have the comprehensive list of all checks on all levels. As I mentioned, we're now approaching 100 different stimulus checks available right now in the nation from states, cities, and counties. I'm working on this every single day for you guys. I want to have it already all perfect so it's easy to access. Once you get a hold of it, in one page, you will be able to see the program, the where to find it, the website, the application, eligibility, the duration, the amount, everything in one easy place. So you're not searching, scrambling all across the internet, spending hours to try to hopefully find a program that still might be existing or it might be expired. I have been doing this for the past almost like a couple months now, you guys, but I'm going to have this ready for you. So bear with me, and if you haven't already and you want to be a part of this, go to www.reliefroadmap.com. Put in your email. When it is ready, I will mass email everybody, and I'm actually going to test it out. I think this week I'm going to try to send out a mass email to everybody, just so that way you know that you are on the waiting list. Bear with me. I'm not tech savvy, you guys, but I'm going to get this done for us here very soon, so that way you can have access to everything. And in addition to that, as I mentioned, we might send out little group reminders through social media to all of the politicians that, hey, what happened to the fourth checks? Little reminders as they're on recess right before we hit these elections, vocalizing checks would be nice. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. Now, let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, before we do, if you could do me a quick favor, if you appreciate this content, don't forget, smash the like button. Helps out the channel a ton. Also, Leave your comments. I love hearing your thoughts on this. Share this out if you think it could help out other people. If this is your first time here and you want to stay up to date, it's free. Why not? Come join the Ram fam. All you got to do is very quickly hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. Remember, here in YouTube, I will never in the comments tell you to contact me on WhatsApp or send me money so that way I can invest in Bitcoin with you or whatever the scammers are doing. That's not me, you guys. Best place to contact me, SteveRam3 on Instagram. And also, check out my second channel, Steve Ram Finance. Going to be releasing more content on there soon to help you out with growing wealth and personal finance. I hope that channel is a blessing to you as well. But with that being said, you guys, let's dive into this video footage with Senator Joe Manchin, what he had to say on the current status of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. It's the revised stimulus reconciliation bill, where things stand, and them getting it done this week with Kyrsten Sinema. Let's go ahead and take a look.
There is another vote count we're keeping a very close eye on tonight. It is the number of votes Senate Democrats need on that huge tax reform and climate agreement that was pulled together by Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin. Well, I had a chance to speak with Senator Manchin shortly after he had a very critical conversation this afternoon. Take a look. I know how busy you have been on this reconciliation plan, but you need one more Democratic vote. Senator Kyrsten Sinema, I know you are scheduled to speak with her today. Is she on board?
Well, we did have a nice conversation, and we're exchanging papers back and forth to make sure we understand everything and she understands where we're coming from. And she's always, she's a friend, and she's always done her due diligence, and she'll look at all of this and then make her own decisions. So I'm hopefully, there's a lot of good things in there, and she's worked very hard over the past on a lot of the issues that we're talking about. So we'll just have to see how it goes, but we're talking.
Well, when you spoke to her, is there anything standing in the way? Carried interest, for example. Is that something she is willing to work with you on? This is something that we have heard from Democrats and Republicans for years, that they want to close this loophole, but yet it's still hanging out there.
And, even the people that receive it have thought it's run its course. They said it's been a good run. And the only thing I've talked about with carried interest, and you know it better than anybody, Stephanie, is that it's based on capital gain rates. Well, if you don't have any capital at all in the game, how are you getting the same reduced rates, since you have nothing at risk except your services that you're performing for a fee? It doesn't make any sense at all how it just doesn't seem like it's a fair system. So with that, over the years, they've said enough's enough. And even the people that have received this says, I think this day's come. It's been a good run. So we're hopefully that is, will stay there, and it just puts the fairness to the system. And if someone can explain it better to me of why it has to be there and who's going to be harmed if it's not there, I'm happy to hear them, but I haven't heard that yet. Maybe you have. Maybe you can explain it to me.
That's actually my question, sir, because for the last 5 years, I have asked for any lawmaker, any private equity industry expert to come on this show and explain to me why that's an important provision. No one has ever said yes. So can I ask you, behind closed doors, what do lawmakers tell you why they need to have it in our tax code?
I can't. I'm having a hard time getting those answers also. I just can't get a direct answer. I said, please tell me. I wouldn't harm anything, and I'm not punishing anybody. But if it's one-tenth of the richest, wealthiest people in the world that only are partaking this, then I think that this trying to put the fairness to it. We need to have a strong country. We have to have a strong tax program that pays for all the services. And I'm just thinking, with a 15% minimum is the same thing. It went from 35 to 21 on net corporate taxes, Stephanie, and I thought that was a tremendous windfall, and I thought it would stop at 25, but people were very happy and ecstatic, and then I guess it wasn't enough. But on the carried interest, it makes no sense to me whatsoever, but I'm willing to hear those explanations, and I'm sure I will, and I'm going to exchange paper back and forth and see where it goes.
What does exchange papers back and forth mean? Either Kyrsten Sinema will go for this with you, or she won't.
No, that I don't know. I mean, the bottom line is she's asked some legitimate, we haven't had a chance to really get into it, and we've been trying to, because all the text is out right now, except for the accelerated permitting, that we believe it's absolutely the linchpin, the whole piece of legislation.
You did block Build Back Better twice out of fears it was only going to worsen inflation, much to the ire of other Democrats. And now here you are with the reconciliation plan, and Republicans are furious with you. They want to go after your seat come the next election. Are you prepared for that?
They've always gone after my seat. That's never prevented them before. And you know what? It's still those are my friends. I understand this process. And I don't begrudge people. I understand it's like Senator McConnell says, Joe, it's a shirts and skins game. Well, I don't really, I don't approach it that way. I approach it basically as a all unity game. We're all in it for our country. I'm not worried if I said the best politics is good government. If the Republicans have a good idea, I vote for it. I don't question it. It makes sense to me. I can go home and explain it. And if the Democrats have a bad idea, I don't mind at all voting against it because I can't explain it. But if it's a good idea, I don't care whether it's Democrat or Republican. Let's support it because it's good for our country. This is a red, white, and blue bill. They keep saying, what's a Democrat bill? It's going to help the Democrats for the 2022 election or 2024 and this and that. That's not my purpose at all. I don't think that at all that should be in the equation. Well, and then on the other hand, Stephanie, I know where you're going with this, but on the other hand, they're going to say, well, this is a green bill, a green deal. This is not a green deal. We're having a pathway with aggressive energy from fossil and doing it cleaner, using all the new technologies, replacing the dirty fuels around the world. That's decarbonization. So this is a red, white, and blue. It's a good piece of legislation.
Well, then, what are Republicans saying to you behind closed doors? Because publicly, quite a few have said you double-crossed them. Mitch McConnell is somebody that you speak to on a regular basis. Have you spoken to him since you presented this bill?
I haven't. Just since passing, we've said hello, and I shook his hand. I'm happy to sit down and speak to him. They all knew. I said, guys, you know I'm not for any type of big legislation. Never have been. This is the time we can't do that. But I can tell you one thing. If I can get a negotiation on an energy package that gives us the energy that we need for today, and if I can get accelerating permitting, which is what you've always wanted and I've always thought was needed, and we can pay down debt, and I'm going to walk away from something like that, then I'm here for the wrong reason. You don't need me if you just want someone that says, well, the Democrats are for this, the Democrats are against it, or the Republicans are for it, or the Republicans are against it. That's not who I am, Stephanie, and I think they all know that. They might be disappointed because they're afraid that this could be a good piece of legislation. They ought to embrace it. The same way they embraced the bipartisan infrastructure deal, the same way they embraced the mental illness for the gun bill, the things that we've been able to do in a bipartisan way. Those are all good politics because it's good government. This is good politics and it's good government. Take credit for it. A lot of the stuff in there is things that they've always touted.
Then are you trying to convince any Republicans to vote yes for this? Kyrsten Sinema is the obvious vote, but maybe there's somebody else out there you can convince.
Sure. I'm sure I would love for that. I'm saying I talk to all. They're all my friends. They really are. But I knew from day one they wouldn't change.
It doesn't matter who's your friend. Like, let's be honest. It doesn't matter who's your friend. You need to get the votes. Besides Kyrsten Sinema, Mitch McConnell's your friend. Are you trying to get Mitch McConnell?
I cannot get their vote because they won't change a penny of the tax code. If they believe that 15% should not be the minimum and corporations shouldn't pay anything in America, that the largest have $1 billion of revenue a year and won't pay anything, I can't convince them to change that. But I know that. I don't agree. I respect their decision. I don't agree with their decision. I think it's wrong. But I'm not going to chastise them over that. So I know I could not do that. I can't get them there because basically there's a fairness to the system. We didn't raise taxes. We didn't do anything. We just closed loopholes. Carried interest, they've even said this. We've talked about it before. But all of a sudden it comes down to I'm not changing a penny in the taxes. So if that's their position, I accept that. This is what I have to work with, and this is the best piece of legislation, and it's absolutely the most balanced piece that we could possibly get, Stephanie.
All right, Senator, thank you for your time. Before you go, what do you think the likelihood is this thing is going to pass if you had to play odds? 50%, 75, 90?
Oh, I think that we're in a good trajectory to get this done. I really do. I just think we all have to come together and look at it. So from when Kyrsten, my friend Kyrsten, is able to see everything, she'll make a decision. If she has some concerns, she'll reach out and tell me, and we'll just continue to talk. We always do that. But the bottom line is that a lot of people were miffed because it happened. They didn't know about it. I will say this, Stephanie. I didn't want to disappoint people again. They get up and down, and the emotions and the drama, and everybody gets upset and they were mad. You think I would go through this again because I liked the first 8 months that I went through? I never gave up. I thought there's a pathway forward. And watching what Putin has done to Ukraine, and watching how he's weaponized energy, and for us to sit here and watch now what he's doing to Europe by twisting the dial closed all the time on the energy they need, and we're sitting bound when we can be helping and really get up and running as quick as we possibly can to help them. And that's just so wrong. So that's really what motivated me to continue to find a pathway forward.
So there you have it, you guys. That was one of the many interviews that took place yesterday with Senator Joe Manchin. And let me know your thoughts. At the end there, you heard him asked, what is the percentage of likelihood of this passing? And to be honest, my personal opinion, I might be wrong, is that with Joe Manchin now on board, it's pretty close to being a done deal. They got to get Kyrsten Sinema on board, but right now he's in the middle of talks with her, and he said he's willing to compromise some of the provisions in order to get her on board. I think that it is very likely that we could see this pass this week. Now, keep in mind that there are probably going to be more modifications throughout the process. As I mentioned, this is nowhere totally done. It's just that they will have an official bill finalized, ready to go through the reconciliation process, which is quite the process. But there also is still the possibility that it could all fall apart. And as I mentioned, there's an assortment of different provisions, executive orders, executive actions that are all hinging upon the passage. This will open up the gateway for an assortment of different things to start unfolding, according to what we've heard from Democrats for the past year or so, saying that once this goes through, we've heard it from Joe Biden as well, then whatever is not included, which is a lot of things, we're going to start seeing legislation, executive orders, executive actions coming out left and right to pass right before the midterm elections. Now, we will see. I will keep you up to date. And we even heard that in our last interview with Joe Manchin. He said everything they do pretty much hinges upon elections. Anytime there's elections coming up, that's when we see members of Congress get to work. So we will see. I'll keep you up to date. But that is the latest, you guys. And as always, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, smash the like button if you appreciate the content, keeping you up to speed on everything going on. And if you want to stay up to date and you're not already part of the Ram fam, what are you waiting for? It's free. Why not hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me, hop onto Instagram, shoot me a DM at SteveRam3. Consider joining my second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. And also, as I mentioned, if you haven't already, go to www.reliefroadmap.com, add in your email so that way you can get access to the comprehensive list of all checks on all levels for states, cities, counties, coming out all the time. We're hearing a lot of stuff coming out for Texas here very soon. Also, Florida just passed stimulus checks. California, I think I've got 10 different programs across the state. New York, I have an assortment of those as well, you guys. I'm going to keep you up to date. And if any are not available, there's a couple of states where I am yet to find anything. I will let you know because I want to make sure that this is going to be of the utmost value to you. If there's no programs, I will let you know. So with that being said, though, thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.